She called the non-emergency line, gave them his plate number, and told them his car was illegally parked and needed to be towed from the community guest lot, a lot he had every legal right to use. Marcus Webb had been sitting inside having coffee when the tow truck pulled up. He'd watched it happen from his kitchen window. Same car, same spot he'd parked in every week for 4 months. Same woman who had decided that his presence in Lakeview Terrace HOA was something she had the authority to correct. He walked outside slowly, set his coffee down on the porch railing. But what Karen didn't know was what Marcus did for a living 40 hours a week. Before we dive in, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. And if you love HOA revenge stories, hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what comes next. Marcus Webb was 54 years old, divorced, and 22 years into his career as a traffic enforcement officer with the city, the kind of job that required knowing parking codes, vehicle ordinances, and municipal traffic law the way a surgeon knows anatomy. When his marriage ended, he downsized, found a ground-floor unit in Lakeview Terrace, a mid-sized HOA community in suburban Georgia, close enough to his daughter's school that he could pick her up on Tuesdays. The unit was affordable, the neighborhood was quiet, and the guest parking lot was large enough that he never had trouble finding a space when his designated spot was blocked by deliveries. He drove a 10-year-old navy blue sedan, maintained it himself, and parked it legally every single time. He knew exactly what legally meant. It was his job. He noticed Renee Caldwell the second week. HOA president for 5 consecutive years, Renee moved through Lakeview Terrace like a woman who had designed the place rather than simply been elected to oversee it. Tailored blazer every day regardless of temperature, clipboard that never left her hand, a particular way of looking at people just slightly longer than was comfortable. She welcomed Marcus with a packet of community rules and an observation that residents were encouraged to use their designated spots whenever possible to keep the guest lot available for actual guests. Marcus thanked her, checked the community rules. Residents were permitted to use the guest lot when their designated spot was unavailable. His was blocked 3 times that first month alone. He used the guest lot. He had every right to. That, he would learn, was the problem. The first notice appeared under his windshield wiper on a Thursday morning. Not an official citation because no official had issued it. A printed HOA parking advisory, signed by Renee Caldwell, informing him that his vehicle had been observed in the guest lot and that continued use by residents would be subject to community review. Marcus read it twice, read the community rules a 3rd time, found no bylaw that restricted resident use of the guest lot, wrote a calm, factual response citing the specific rule number and the page it appeared on, and slid it under the HOA office door. No response. The advisories kept coming once a week, then twice, then tucked under his wiper 3 mornings in a row during a single week when his designated spot had a concrete repair crew working in it. He brought the issue to the HOA board at the next monthly meeting, was told the matter was under internal review, asked what that meant specifically, was told the board would communicate in writing. No written communication arrived in the following 6 weeks. That was when his neighbor Diane stepped in. Diane Okafor was 61, a retired school principal who had lived in Lakeview Terrace for 9 years and had a memory for detail that rivaled most legal secretaries. She told Marcus over the shared mailbox one afternoon that Renee had done something similar to a young nurse 2 years earlier, placed so many informal advisories on her car, and made so many complaints to the towing company on file with the HOA that the nurse had simply stopped parking in the guest lot entirely, even when her spot was blocked, and eventually moved out. Diane had kept every one of the advisories the nurse had shown her. She produced them from a manila envelope she'd apparently been carrying specifically for this moment. Marcus filed a formal complaint with the county housing authority, citing selective enforcement of parking rules against a specific resident. Received an acknowledgement, nothing else for 3 months. Then Renee changed tactics entirely. Marcus returned home one evening to find a parking boot on his rear wheel, not placed by the city, not placed by any official enforcement agency, a private boot, the kind available for purchase online, attached to his vehicle while it sat in his own designated parking space. A note on his windshield informed him the boot had been placed by HOA Facilities Management pending resolution of his outstanding parking advisories and would be removed upon payment of a community compliance deposit of $200. He called the police non-emergency line. An officer came, confirmed the boot had been placed without legal authority, and told Marcus he could file a civil complaint for illegal vehicle restraint. The officer could not remove the boot himself. Marcus missed an entire shift at work. He called a locksmith and removed the boot legally, documented everything, photographed everything, filed the civil complaint. Then he called the city traffic enforcement office, his office, and had a quiet conversation with his supervisor about the specific ordinances governing unauthorized vehicle immobilization in their county. He wasn't filing a complaint, he was taking notes. The Saturday of the HOA's Spring Community Showcase was 2 weeks away. Renee had been promoting it for a month. Vendor tables, a raffle, a presentation on community improvements. The guest lot would be full of visitor vehicles. The surrounding streets would be lined with cars belonging to every resident who'd given up their spot for the event. Marcus had the weekend off. He had his city-issued traffic enforcement tablet, and he knew every single parking ordinance that applied to every single street within 3 blocks of Lakeview Terrace. Marcus arrived at the Spring Community Showcase at 9 a.m. sharp, 45 minutes before Renee's opening remarks. He was not there as a resident. He was there in his full city traffic enforcement uniform, navy shirt, badge, equipment belt, city-issued tablet, conducting his regular Saturday patrol of the residential streets surrounding the HOA community. Streets that fell entirely within his enforcement jurisdiction. Streets that, on the morning of a large community event, were lined bumper to bumper with vehicles belonging to vendors, visitors, and residents who had moved their cars to make room for the showcase. He began at the corner of Lakeview Drive and Marsh Street and worked methodically. Expired registration on the blue SUV, citation. Blocking the fire lane on the north side, citation. Overnight commercial vehicle on a residential street, citation. He was not targeting anyone. He was doing his job on public streets where his authority was absolute and entirely unambiguous. He documented each citation with his tablet, photographed each vehicle, applied each ticket to each windshield with the practiced efficiency of someone who had done it thousands of times. By 10:15, 12 citations had been placed on vehicles belonging to vendors and visitors attending Renee's showcase. 2 of them belonged to HOA board members who had parked in a loading zone to unload the raffle equipment. Renee found him at 10:30, still working the north side of Marsh Street. She told him in front of the vendor whose expired registration had just earned a citation, in front of 3 residents watching from the sidewalk, that he was conducting this enforcement specifically to harass her event and that she would be filing a complaint with the city. Marcus showed her his patrol assignment log. His route included these streets every Saturday morning. It always had. He pointed to the date of his last citation on this block, 3 weeks before the showcase, 2 weeks before the boot appeared on his car. Then Renee made the mistake that finished her. Voice climbing, she turned to the residents on the sidewalk and told them that she had specifically checked with the city before the event and had been told that no enforcement was scheduled for this area, and that she had chosen this date precisely because it was supposed to be a no-patrol morning. 3 residents heard it. She had just admitted she had coordinated her event timing around enforcement schedules, which meant she had access to city patrol routing, which meant the question of how a private parking boot appeared on a city traffic officer's vehicle in a pattern of targeting that had been documented for 4 months had just gotten significantly more interesting. Marcus wrote nothing down. He didn't need to. He had a badge, a tablet, and a very good memory. Diane Okafor submitted her manila envelope to the County Housing Authority the following Monday, along with a written account of the nurse's experience 2 years earlier and a timeline of every advisory that had appeared on Marcus's vehicle. Marcus's supervisor filed a separate inquiry with the city's Parking Enforcement Division regarding the coordination of a private event around publicly available patrol routing information that was not technically public. The city inquiry found that Renee Caldwell had contacted the Traffic Enforcement Scheduling Office 4 times in the preceding year, including once the week before the boot appeared on Marcus's vehicle. She had identified herself as a community liaison during each call. She was not a community liaison. She had no official relationship with the city's Traffic Enforcement Division whatsoever. The HOA's insurance carrier was notified. The words fraudulent misrepresentation and unauthorized vehicle immobilization appeared in 2 separate documents within 3 weeks of the showcase. Renee Caldwell resigned from the HOA presidency 23 days after the Spring Community Showcase. She cited personal health reasons. The board accepted her resignation at a special session attended by 14 residents, 11 of whom had been waiting for exactly this outcome. The vote to accept was unanimous. Every informal parking advisory issued to Marcus was formally declared without basis and removed from the community records. The $200 compliance deposit demand was rescinded in writing with a letter that used the word inappropriate 4 times. Marcus still lives in Lakeview Terrace, still parks in the guest lot when his designated space is blocked, still picks his daughter up on Tuesdays. The community is quieter now in the particular way that places get quiet when the person who had been filling them with manufactured tension is no longer there. He has no regrets. He didn't manufacture anything. He drove his patrol route on a public street on a Saturday morning and did his job with exactly the precision the city paid him for. Sometimes the system works the way it's supposed to. Sometimes it just needs someone in the right uniform in the right place at the right time. Here's what I want to know. Leave it in the comments. If someone had been targeting your car for months and you had the exact professional expertise to respond, how long would you have waited before you put on the uniform? If you enjoyed watching karma work, smash that like button and subscribe. I post new HOA revenge stories every week. Comment below, have you ever dealt with a Karen like this?